blessed good morning to all. It's a beautiful Thursday morning, and we are here once again. We have been through a night of rest and hopefully renewal, refreshment, and we are ready to meet this new day. Being present, being in the now, knowing that the now is the only time that exists. Past and future are illusions in a sense. It is only the now that is of vital importance. And so we encourage to practice being present, living in the now, removing ourselves from our ego issues, removing ourselves from the need to defend or to be aggressive, but simply to recognize that we are souls journeying, and there's nothing that can be added or taken away from who we are. So we stand in the present and we explore that sense of being, because that's the only place that we exist, in the present moment. So this morning as we come together, we do so mindful of this, and we take this time to be present. To be present to ourselves and to be present to each other, knowing that it is through this sense of presence that we are able to discern our true selves. I ask you now then to take yourself into that sacred space. If there's a physical location for it, to just go there. Otherwise, to allow it to manifest through your bringing your attention to this moment, to this time. Allowing yourself to be free of anxiety, concern about what is to come or what hasn't been as yet. Just being here, taking a few breaths, breathing in through your nostrils and breathing out through your mouth, helping us to earth ourselves, to ground ourselves, to bring ourselves and our awareness into our bodies, to move away from our heads where we spend so much time. So we just want to be present in our bodies, embodying all that is, feeling the denseness of our bodies, feeling that sense of being grounded, being connected. And we take a few breaths, a few deep breaths. We allow ourselves to have that sense of gratitude as we bring our attention into our heart space. And as we think of each other, we bring each other into our hearts. Just remembering a name that you might have seen, signing in to our devotions, whether they're here today or not. Just any name that you remember, just bring it into your heart. Bring that name and the person associated with the name into your heart, even if you've never met them. Just bring them into your heart. Let's just connect. Let's connect with each other. Allow that sense of connection to be real for us, to be significant. Just feel the presence of the other. And that other symbolizes all of us. Know that we're not alone. We're not disconnected. In these special moments, we reconnect ourselves to the Almighty. As we open ourselves to bring in that grace. To bring in that light. We ask that as the words of Scripture are read, that light may radiate in our hearts today. Reading Luke's Gospel, chapter 22, verse 1. Now the festival of unleavened bread, which is called the Passover, was near. The chief priests and scribes were looking for a way to put Jesus to death, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered into Judas called Iscariot, who was one of the 12. He went away and conferred with the chief priests and officers of the temple police about how he might betray him to them. They were greatly pleased and agreed to give him money. So he consented and began to look for an opportunity to betray him to them when no crowd was present. Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare the Passover meal for us, that we may eat it." They asked him, "Where do you want us to make the preparations for it?" "Listen," he said. "When you have entered the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him into the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks you, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, already furnished. Make preparations for us there." So they went and found everything as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal. Here ends the reading.
Almighty, victorious.
We live in a world which can at times seem devoid of any real spiritual understanding and guidance. But yet it happens from time to time, and perhaps we don't share enough of it so that we can trust what we experience. As I listened to the reading this morning, I'm reminded of an episode that I heard of when a young man was making a testimony. This young man was going through some challenges, and he had very little funds, if any. And he got a call, an inward call, telling him to go to the supermarket. But he said, I don't have any money. But the voice within said, do as I say, go to the supermarket. So he went to the supermarket, and he was told to go inside and to take up what he needed. And he was somewhat reluctant because he was having visions of somebody coming and embarrassing him, or in some way being arrested or charged. But nonetheless, he did as he was told, and he went inside and he shopped for what he wanted. And then he was told to go to the cashier. And he said, but I don't have any money. I don't have any way of paying for these things. And they might think that I'm trying to steal them. But he was told, no, you go to the cashier. And so, because of where he was in his journey, and he was discerning the divine presence, he followed the voice and he went to the cashier. And the cashier began to register what he had bought. And as the cashier told him what it cost, a man came from out of nowhere and said, I'm paying for this. And the man paid for it and went along. We don't hear these kind of stories often, but there is such one in the reading for today. Jesus tells his disciples to go into the town, and you will see a man there bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him. And when you see him go into a house, go into that house and ask the head of the house, where is the guest room where the master will celebrate the Passover? We are amazed in this world at various things. We're amazed at technology. We're amazed at the accomplishments of persons. But we are very reluctant to be open to the power that God releases in his world. Not a power of dominance or control or destruction, but a power of well-being, of guidance, of provision, of providence. God is able to use those who are open to him to bring about his purpose. at any given moment. But we hear so little of these stories. Yet in reality, we all at one point in time have experienced something of this nature. But no doubt we probably chalked it up to coincidence. But even more so, we're not always very willing to listen and to accept the guidance. We tend to think that we're making it up. And our ego does a number on us because our ego can create nice scenarios as well. And then we don't know which is which. Or at least we think we don't know which is which. But I maintain that when we walk with God, when we discern God in our lives, when we build that relationship, we know the voice of God. We know when God is guiding us. We know when we are being led by our guides, by our guardians, by those who watch over us. We know. But even though we may know, we are reluctant to follow. You can just imagine how that man in the story I told must have felt when he was told to go to the supermarket and he knew he had no money. We are so petrified at times of others, what they will say, what they will do. And sometimes rightly so, because persons have been known in our world to do horrible things to persons when they declare some spiritual guidance. Persons have had wonderful encounters with the divine and have heard important things, and when they have shared in their ecstasy, some have been sent off to the folks with white coats. And those in those facilities, not knowing the entire story, they get on with their job and they do what they think is best. And all it was Spirit opening to grant one of its children a gift, a blessing, a foretaste of what is possible. So oftentimes we are reluctant to speak for fear of what others may do to us. But we must learn to trust the one who has called us into relationship. And must learn to trust the guidance that we are receiving. Just as the disciples trust Jesus' words. How would Jesus know that there was a man there that would have a pitcher of water? But as I say this, I must smile and recall as a priest in one of my parishes looking for a person who was ill. And I was trying to find a house. And I was a good ways from where the house was. A couple of gaps away. And someone was directing me to the house. And one of the things that I was supposed to look for was a man under a tree who's not wearing a shirt. And I said to the person, what do you mean? A man under a tree who's not wearing a shirt? And my thinking was, well, that man could go on anywhere. But the person said, no, the man under the tree without a shirt, you'll see him there. And so then the man was there without a shirt under the tree. It seems that he does that all day. But I don't think that Jesus' situation was something like that. Jesus had no foreknowledge in terms of physical recognition of the man. But Jesus knew within that the man was going to be there. And the disciples trusted in Jesus' knowing. We too can have that knowing. We too can experience that guidance. Because it is there for all of us. Not only for Jesus alone. Not only for my friend who went to the supermarket. But it is there for us all. If we would only learn to listen and to follow.